Okay.
Oh, my face. I'm Maura.
I'm Armando.
This is 2 Halves of a Whole Idiot. Don't you dare woo.
I was so close
Don't
to doing
you
it.
dare.
I was about to do
Oh, it's already starting and we just started.
it. I was so close.
Yeah, so if you have seen our previous video, any of our shorts, we are married. We just had an anniversary. Married for 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. It's cool.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. So, how we dealt with each other for so long. It's a pretty bumpy story, actually. Twists and turns, ups and downs, lefts and rights.
Forwards and backs.
Don't you ever say that again.
Ins and outs.
Anyway, but today what I want to talk about is basically mental health, where I'm at and how Armando deals with it. Deals with this pretty rough. I know you say you don't deal with it. What do you call it?
I feel like deal with it is like has the wrong connotation. Like I don't deal with anything. You okay? He's like,
It's just water. Sorry.
yeah, I don't really know the right verbiage or terminology I would use, but I feel like deal with it is a little harsh.
Okay.
What would you say? How would you put it?
Oh, I say deal with it because I'm hard on myself though. But to kind of make a little bit more sense of it, at 13 I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and in my adult years I was diagnosed with PTSD. So I struggled with that for a few years, and now I just live with it. I have my days where I struggle, but there's no real cure for any of it, but I live with it now. I don't want to say I struggle with it, but I guess you've been there through the worst times of it, and then...
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about last time, we started dating in high school, right? And then we split up, but I mean, we've known each other pretty much our entire lives. So yeah.
And then... Is that it?
Yeah, so I was gonna, like, I was hoping you'd start chiming in there.
Oh, I have to fill in the blank. Okay, well, here we are. So to make it like cut and dry, we talk about this a lot actually. To put it in layman's terms, Armando didn't believe mental health was an issue. He used to believe like if you weren't happy, just be happy.
It's not that I don't. Okay, how do I put that? I don't know if I agree with the notion that I didn't think it was an issue, but I legitimately didn't understand it because it's not something I've ever dealt with, right? So like for me, I've always, like when I was younger, I had the idea that you could be like, well, just stop being sad, you know? I can, me personally, I have the ability to like control my emotions in a way that somebody who struggles with these things doesn't have the ability to do. And I understand now that it's because it's a lot more complex and a lot more complicated of a topic than just stop doing that, you know? So.
Which is what I said, just in a more defined way. That's why I said layman's terms. But yeah. So yeah, like I'm super sensitive. One of the things that absolutely like hurts me is like seeing kids get hurt in movies. Like I can't handle it. If anyone's ever seen Insidious Skeleton Key, spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1. It shows Elaine as a child, and she was this like soft, fair-skinned little girl with like curly blonde and brown hair. And I didn't relate to that, but I saw my oldest daughter when I saw that movie. When I looked at her with the fair skin and the curly blonde and brown hair, that's what my daughter looked like. So she was beaten by her dad and then locked in the basement, and I had to walk out of the movie theater when that scene happened. Because like while it was happening, it just hit me hard and put me into like a horrible crying spell. I ended up, I think, texting my daughter to make sure she was okay and waited for Mondo to text me back. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't always that way. I didn't care if anything happened to kids. Like in The Blob, one of my funniest things, one of my favorite things when I was younger was the fact that in The Blob there were a set of twins and one of the twins died. I like that because it was like pushing the boundaries. But now as an adult with 3 kids, I think it's after I had my son, it started hitting me. I started becoming more sensitive to that topic. And it kind of embarrasses me and embarrassed me when I had to do stuff like that because Armando was never affected as much as I was, at least by it.
Yeah, and like when I was younger, that's the kind of thing that kind of irritate me or get on my nerves. I'd be like, what? It's just a movie, right? Like, we just stop being affected by it. But I get it now. Now I understand it's just something that affects you in a way that doesn't affect me, and it's okay to give you that space and let you go, like afford you the space you need, I guess, to feel those emotions.
Yeah.
And understand it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You just handle things differently than I do. We're different people.
Yeah, and I think, so I don't know if anyone else or if whoever watches this, if you deal with anxiety and depression. So depression for me, mine specifically, like it makes me sad. It makes me like tired. I don't want to do anything. And then my anxiety chimes in and it's like, why are you being lazy? Mondo will probably need you to do this. Like, why are you making him do everything? And then my depression's like, but you're so tired. You don't want to do anything because you're sad. Like, you need to be sad. Just feel it. And my anxiety is like, you're feeling it, but you're not doing anything. You're worthless. And my depression's like, you really are kind of worthless. Why don't you just do something? I don't want you to do anything because, you hate your life and because you're going to lay here and be kind of dumb and lazy. Like, your family would be better off without you. And then my anxiety chimes in again. It's like, wow, you're selfish. You really want to do that to your family? There you go again. Everything's about Maura. And it's a vicious cycle. And Armando, in the beginning, he didn't understand that. He would get frustrated with me.
Yeah, that's something I've adjusted myself on, I guess. I guess I've just learned how to interact with you in ways that I didn't used to, right? Like, understanding now that it really is cyclical, it feeds into itself. It's like a vicious cycle, right? And knowing that I can be there to try and like break that cycle and just tell you, it's okay. Like, I'm here if you need help. You're doing great. You're doing fine. You're a good mom. You're an awesome wife. And just being supportive.
Yeah, and I had something off of that too. Man, we suck at this.
We're not doing good right now.
No, I think I don't want to put pressure on us to make this 100% perfect. Maybe that's why I went into this a second ago saying that it's not going to be perfect. And it's fine if it's choppy because it's who we are. We're choppy. But, oh my goodness. It was something.
I can edit out dead space. It's fine.
Okay. Oh, so in the beginning, you used to get very frustrated. You got frustrated with, I don't want to say me, but you got frustrated with the scenario, I guess, because you couldn't fix it. And you would get mad at yourself, and it would turn, and you would take that anger towards yourself, and you would project it onto me.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do. It's like, that's my thing, right? Like, problem solve. I even say in my own job, like, I'm not like a programmer or an artist or anything. My real job is I'm really good at solving problems. I troubleshoot, right? And I used to do that with everything. I still do to a degree.
So again, it's kind of putting you on blast about the problem solving. I remember I would get so mad, and one day I finally just like yelled at him because I said, you look up how to fix your computer, you look up how to do this, look up how to do that. But the one thing you never search for, you never try to look up or try to look into is how to be with somebody who deals with this mental health. Yeah. He didn't wake up then. No, it took a couple years for him to finally wake up, but
there was truth to that too, right? And then like once I actually did start like looking into it and trying to get a better understanding of the things that you go through, and not only that, but like how to help somebody who deals with that stuff. And you start to realize that the approach I was taking was not the right one. It was the wrong one. I think an understanding of things really helps to, I don't know. I think like when I used to get angry. I think that anger comes from a lack of understanding. And so like when you do understand things, it makes it easier to not be angry about it, right? Because you know what's going on, I guess. That's probably a roundabout way of saying something simple. I don't know.
No, that's great. I think what you're like, the one thing to pinpoint on what you're trying to say, I'm not saying you're not saying it right, is the fact that when you realize that it's nothing you can fix, this isn't a you issue. This doesn't involve you. It involves me and my mind.
Yeah.
In specific scenarios, of course, if there's things that you can help with, you do. Like if I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a stressful day, I'm having one of my moments, you take care of everything, You make sure I have a clean area because my mind gets very messy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we talked about, and you've definitely helped out a lot in that aspect. But I think, yeah, once you get the understanding that someone is going through this, and it's out of your control, then you realize, okay, like the steps to take to assist that person. It's not to fix it, but to hold their hand along the way.
Yeah. I think the good analogy that you hear all the time is that you wouldn't tell someone with a broken leg to just, why don't you just walk it off, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you talk about like depression and anxiety, these are literally chemical imbalances in the brain. You know, it's not something that you can control. And I don't know, it's when you view it from that aspect, you realize that, yeah, you're right, it's not something I can solve.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you, do you have a moment when you realized, like that you can pinpoint when you realize that you can't fix this? There's no, first off, I do want to point out, for me, I know there's no fixing me. I don't need fixing. I need to be able to adjust and live every day with what I have, you know? And you are just adjusting as well. I'm trying to make my own life manageable while also making it manageable together. I know that's what you're doing with me, but when was do you have an exact point where you realized like, oh crap, I can't fix this. I have to be there for her. Like, did you have that kind of realization?
I don't know if there was an exact moment I can point to. It's just something that kind of happened over time. I will say that, you know, one thing we talked about that I've always struggled with when I was younger, is I've always had a hard time with empathy and seeing things from other people's perspective, right? And that's gotten easier as I've gotten older and I've gotten practice at it. But I think the more empathetic I've become, the easier it has become to see things from your perspective. Obviously, it's probably dumb.
You're gonna put the face in.
But, oh man, with that added empathy, it becomes easier to see, like, I'm gonna say the same thing again. I'm gonna say the same ass stupid thing again.
It's not stupid. I'm glad because you're a different person looking into this scenario. Yeah. Well, no, you're you. And we're talking about you. As your empathy, yeah.
It has become easier. I'm gonna leave it at that. I can't think of a better way to put that.
Woo! I can't think of an author right now. It's gonna make fun of you. But anyway, okay.
I'm gonna edit like a shit ton of that.
Yeah. So another question is, and I want honesty. Like this could shock us all. Was there ever a point you wanted to leave me because of what I deal with?
Maybe not because of what you deal with.
Ooh, I know what you're gonna say.
Oh man, like it used to frustrate me. I felt like if I would say something, you would automatically disagree with me, right? And then like if you heard the same exact thing from somebody else, then like you would take that advice. And it used to aggravate the heck out of me. And why you give me that look?
Because you do the same thing. That's nothing to do with mental health.
I know, that's a whole tip. I guess that's technically a separate thing.
You dick.
For a while there, I guess, before you really started like getting some of the tools that you needed or the help that you needed through counseling and such like that, I think that first of all, not just you, neither one of us handled things appropriately. Yeah, so there's ever a point where I wanted to leave you do your mental like health stuff, and I was like, it's not really because of the mental health stuff, it's just because of the way you acted.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you said that. I acted horribly on it. So for a couple of years, actually, I think so, I felt three things. I felt sadness, I felt anger, and I felt happiness. And a lot of times when I would start feeling the sadness, I would quickly turn it into anger, which is, you know, the secondary emotion. That's what it's the easiest to feel. But I would
probably elaborate on that. Sorry to cut you off, but like this is the second time you said that. You said it in the first podcast as well, and you kind of like glossed over it. You didn't really explain it, like how anger is a secondary emotion.
So anger, I'll use it for me. So anger basically is like, it's easy. It's like, it's a mask you can put on. It's a mask that you can wear and you can say, well, I'm angry because you suck, or you do this, you did that. It's never really anger. It's what's under it. It could be jealousy. It was, well, that person has something that I want and I can't get, so I'm jealous of that. It could be that you are embarrassed. That's something that I feel a lot, is if I feel embarrassed, I am so quick to going to anger because I don't want anyone to know I'm embarrassed, because if I show that I'm embarrassed, I don't realize at the time, but when I take a step back, I realize that I feel weak if I feel embarrassed, and I don't want to feel weak in front of everybody. So if they see my anger, to everybody else, that's not weak. She's just hard. She's just angry. She's, violent or something. And people don't see violence as soft or weak. They see it as strong or just angry or tough. And that's not the case.
I think embarrassment's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because like you see people often argue too when they don't know something and someone corrects them and then they get embarrassed by it. But then it's easier to be angry than it is to be embarrassed, right?
Right.
And so I think embarrassed is a big one.
Yeah. So if I was sad about something, I would be sad. And I would say, I'm sad because of this. But because of this wasn't the big issue. I would pinpoint one thing and make it the whole issue, when in reality, there were multiple things. Yeah, I was sad, but I was sad because this made me feel this way, and then this made me feel this way. But instead of wanting to look weak, or because I was frustrated that you weren't understanding why I was sad, or you didn't, in some cases, not to call you out again, in some cases you didn't, I don't want to say care, but you didn't care to see my side on why I was sad.
I got stuck on like what you did to me rather than what I might have done to you, or like I might have handled it the best way and I refused to acknowledge that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So what that did to me was I was like, well, I'm tired of trying to explain my sad side because you don't want to listen to my sad side. That's another thing for me. If people don't listen to me, I get angry because it's like, why am I not worth listening to? So when I would feel like, why am I not worth listening to? You're supposed to love me. Why don't you want to understand me? I would resort to anger. And then in some cases, like that would be the only way you would listen to me, because I guess you wouldn't listen to me. You would listen enough to stop the argument, but it would always go into a huge flame. It would be the small match that was lit that it was like, okay, this kind of hurts. And when I would address it, you would have that embarrassment where a small match was lit in you. And you would be embarrassed, so you would handle it with anger. And then I would get mad that you didn't care about what I said. So I would get in anger to the point where like everything was on fire. And that's the way we handled it for a few years. I
think that's the way a lot of couples go, right? Is like you stop trying to see things from the other person's perspective because you so desperately want them to see yours. You get really caught up on like what you did to me, and you don't ever stop and think, well, what I did to you. I shouldn't be expecting you to apologize for what you did to me. I should be thinking, okay, how did I handle this? And is there something I can do to like help correct the situation?
Right.
It's just really difficult to get to that point because once you're angry, you're mad. It's like you don't want to stop being mad. It's anger begets anger, right? So.
Yeah. A couple years ago, you and I, we had split up for 3 months. It was 2020. We were going to get divorced. That's when I started to go to counseling again. I've been to counseling a long time, on and off. While we were going through this process, I texted my oldest brother and I basically asked advice about how do you get through a divorce? And he gave me the complete opposite advice. He said, with your spouse, you need to wake up every morning thinking, what one thing can I do for my spouse that will make them happy? And I think for so many years, we cared about each other's happiness, but not what we could do to make them happy. Because we would fight all the time, so it was, what can I do to not make them mad?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, for a lot of years we were doing that, and
our home environment was really, really stressful because I think we said at one point, it felt like we were just, our times at peace were just times in between fights.
Yeah.
Right? Like we were waiting for the next fight.
Well, you said that, but okay. I didn't say that.
I thought it was pretty smart when I said it. You just kind of agreed.
Yeah, all right. No, it was rough. I hated him.
Yeah, it was rough.
But I think also the sad part about it is I wasn't happy for a long time. I was comfortable, just like you were, and I was scared of not having what we had, even though it was chaotic and toxic. But here we go. You better clap in that. Another thing. I'm gonna switch this around off of you because yes, you didn't handle things the right way for the longest time. I never explained it the right way either. Because like I said, I was so quick to getting angry that I wouldn't tell you like what was on my mind. Cut myself some slack too. There were a couple times that I would tell you like, this is what like I said in the beginning, this is what my depression's doing, this is what my anxiety's doing, and it's a cycle. And you would just be like, well, just stop.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, thank you for the advice. I wish I could. But just because he handled it that way specifically when I would elaborate on my thoughts doesn't mean I should have shut off completely, which I did. I stopped explaining things because 2 or 3 times I explained everything and you were like, well, just stop. And that's not fair. It wasn't fair to me to shut myself up, but it wasn't fair to you because I didn't give you the chance to grow. I said, you messed up 3 times. I'm not letting you hurt me again, which isn't fair, you know? Because I cut you off. I cut off that communication and we could have grown together. I mean, we did now, obviously, but.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big things that I've learned is how to effectively communicate what I'm feeling. You know, being able to take a step back. I don't do it all the time, obviously, but being able to take a step back and say, I'm not really mad. This is what I'm feeling. Or I'm feeling sad because this. And I'm projecting it as this specific emotion because it's easiest for me.
Yeah, and I think I've really learned just how to like do the things that you need when you need them done, I guess. And it's not easy. There's no like exact recipe or formula to figure out what that is. Sometimes it's more just playing it by ear. But a lot of times it's like, okay, I think you need space, so I'm gonna try and give you space. Or I think you need comfort, so I'm gonna try and give you comfort. I think you need to freaking cuddle for a little bit, so we're gonna cuddle. I'll take dinner tonight, you know, I'll try and keep the house clean the way you like it. Just, I don't know, being that support system that you need. Because I mean, you're mine when I need it, so.
No. Anyway.
Oh.
But I'm sorry, I gotta laugh at you. This is really freaking funny. So a little side note. Again, we talk crap on each other all the time. We joke around. Shut up. Anyway, one of the little arguments we had when we were first dating was I was talking about him listening to me. So I said, you need to listen or something. And he goes, okay, so you're telling me I have to not talk and listen at the same time. And I was like, yeah, that's what listening is. And he just stopped. And we were in the middle of an argument and he started laughing. And I think you were like, okay, that's fair.
Because I was mad, so I was just talking. Like, I wouldn't be. I was trying to, like, I don't know. I was trying to make some stupid point, but I was just mad.
Yeah. But I love it because that is like the one thing you finally learned that when I'm going through this stuff, and I think a lot of times I preface before to say, like, I'm going through this. Is preface the right word? Yay! But yeah, so I'll say, like, I don't need you to problem solve, I just need to vent, or this is what's going on, you know, so you understand it's not about you, and you have gotten a lot better with just listening.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps tremendously because I'm the kind of person that, like, I don't really know how to pick up on, like, social cues to figure out exactly what you want. I'm not a mind reader, right?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, about that. So when you tell me things like, I just need a vent, I don't need a solution, I can be like, okay, cool. And I can just listen.
Yeah.
And I can freaking be like, dang, you're right, that does suck. F them. F that person. F them to H.
Man, fuck Goku. Team 4-star, what up? And I like that. And I know sometimes it is frustrating. You know, sometimes there is a solution to whatever I'm going through. I would say probably like 20% of the time, there's probably a solution in there. You know, and sometimes you'll try to, like, hey, here's your solution. But I want to say you've gotten a lot more patient with me to say, okay, she doesn't want a solution. Like, let me take a step back. Sometimes you'll get frustrated and it's like, oh my God, the answer's right there. You know it.
Because, like, okay, for example, sometimes you'll be like venting about a person or someone like that. No, nobody in particular. But
oh, if they listen to this, they go, no.
But like freaking and I'll just be like, okay, we'll just stop talking to that person. But like, you don't want that solution. You just want to vent, and that's okay. I've learned to realize that's okay. Because if it was me, I'd probably just stop talking to that person.
I'm not gonna call any of your friends out or anything that you call friends, but you've done the same thing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like where we are. It's been a big road when it comes to, like, my mental health. A road that's some days easier, you know. Mm-hmm. Some days it's harder. Just kind of depends on my mood, depends on the weather, depends on the kids, depends on my freaking 24 jobs or whatever. But I don't know, I feel like I've gotten better, and I guess I'm really happy that I've gotten better with you instead of taking those roads that we've tried multiple times or just giving up. You know, I think we said this before too. Like giving up on our relationship is the easier way. It was the easier way out in some cases. Like now, obviously, it'd be the harder way out. Now that we've built up to where we are now, like me being able to vocalize everything and you being able to listen to what I'm vocalizing, like
it would have been the easier way to just give up on it. I think that's true.
Yeah.
But like, I also don't think it was tenable. It wouldn't have worked out had we not both wanted to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. If you want to salvage a relationship, you both have to want to change. You can't just expect one person to adjust to the other and then call it good, you know? You both have to make compromises and you both have to figure out the best ways to be with each other.
Right. I mean, that, and if you don't want to get better for your partner, get better for yourself.
Truth.
Because, I mean...
I think we're better people because of the changes we've made. But I think that it was good for us to make those changes regardless.
Right. Whether we stay together or didn't stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think who we've become and who we are becoming is something that I want our kids to do. I want them to be empathetic. I want them to speak their emotions the best way they can. I want them to listen to people and understand that just because they have a different perspective than you doesn't mean that, like, they're wrong.
They might be wrong.
Well, yeah, but, yeah.
I want our kids to be malleable. Is that fair?
You want them to be able to be molded in clay?
No, malleable as in like have the flexibility of mind to be able to understand opposing opinions and then adopt the good parts and then throw away the bad ones.
That's deep.
Thanks.
But clay is also malleable, isn't it?
Clay is.
Isn't it?
No?
Yes or no? Yeah, say it. It is, isn't
Okay,
it?
I guess. Yeah, you could say it's malleable, I guess.
Yeah. He wants our kids to be clay.
Like putty in my hands.
Why in your hands?
What do you mold putty with? What do you eat putty with?
You don't eat it.
You eat pudding.
Keep that in there.
I messed that up.
When him and I first got together, it was when I got pregnant with our son. I became very emotional in the sad portion. I wasn't really angry. I was more sad. I had a very bad relationship with my ex-husband. Really don't want to get in that right now, but it was very toxic. And there were a few times where I would have horrible nightmares. Like, what are really vivid nightmares called? Night terrors? Night terrors, I guess. But there would be times where I would wake up like crying hysterically and you would have to hold me. And it was while I was pregnant where it was the worst. But I know it's easy for you. How did you deal with me having a previous relationship where I would talk about it with you and I would have those moments?
I mean, honestly, it never concerned me.
Well, if you're looking for any advice, there you go.
I don't know. I've never been one of them people without thinking like, what? You were with somebody before me? Ecad. Okay,
but if you are somebody on the receiving end of it, how would you talk to them?
I don't know. I don't have any advice for that, really. I tried to be there for you. It wasn't the night terror thing that really got me, because that's easy. You know, I just hold you, listen to you talk about it, acknowledge that it happened, right? Tell you it's okay, and try and remind you that it's in the past, you know, without being like demeaning or, you know, Condescending, yeah. It was the, oh man, you don't do it much anymore, but you would have moments where like, you felt like you were somewhere else, right? Like we would be driving down the road and you felt like, you know, you were in a different location that triggered something bad in you. And you'd have to take some time to calm down and settle down. Those are the ones that took me a while to get used to. And you don't really do it anymore, but for a while there, it was fairly frequent. Sometimes you'd call me on the phone and it didn't matter what I was doing. I'd try and set everything aside and just listen to you talk for a little bit and say, it's okay, take a breath, I'm here, right? Look around. Like find something you recognize, you know. I don't remember all the steps for like anxiety and panic attacks. I think it's like
you looked it up. I remember when I was having an actual panic attack, I had to pull over.
Yeah.
And you looked it up. I could hear you typing and you talked me through it.
Yeah, we talked. It was like look for something blue or something, and then like find 2 of this, and then like 3 of that, and then we went through all that steps just to calm you down, and you know, trying to be supportive.
Do you think that there could be people that could misunderstand what somebody's going through, when people who've been through a relationship like I did, who have those kind of moments where they would misconstrue it as that person misses their ex-partner? Because I personally think so. I think that people could not know how to handle it because they would have that sense of jealousy. Like, why are you thinking about that person when in reality it's involuntary?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see people kind of, like you said, misconstruing that.
What would you say to them?
You got to realize, like, it's not about you, right? Like, it has nothing to do with you, you know? I could see someone thinking, like, what am I doing wrong? Why haven't you moved on, right? Is it something I'm doing wrong?
Right.
And it's not. It's not anything I did wrong, you know? It's not anything you're doing wrong. It's just the way it is.
Right.
I think you got to get away from that self-centered mindset. And that's where, like, empathy comes into play, right? I think that's what is that advice we heard a while back, right? That, like, it's kind of harsh, but it's true. It's like, you're not that special.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. So, like, when you walk into a room, that you are not important enough for every single person in that room to be looking at you and hate you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most humbling, accurate advice in the world, because, and I think it's great because not only is it like, calm down, not everyone hates you, but at the same time, it's like, dude, not everyone hates you. Like, relax, like, take a deep breath. And it's also, seriously, get off your high horse. You can take it two ways, and it's good that you can do that without a voice.
It's a little humbling because it's like, believe it or not, you are not the main character in everybody else's story. Wow. Everybody else has got shit going on, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe they're mad at you. More often than not, it has nothing to do with you. Yeah. It's like when you're going through that stuff, it had absolutely nothing to do with me. And that's like a pill you got to swallow, you know? You had, like, I guess, baggage. That's kind of derogatory, but...
it's... Some people can find it derogatory. I personally don't.
Okay. Well, I mean, you had baggage from a previous relationship, you know, and I, to the best of my ability, was trying to help you unpack it.
Unpack that ass. Sorry, I had to. No, like I said earlier, I like where we've gotten. I like that you. Oh, recently. Oh my goodness, we talked about this. Stop flexing.
Sorry.
But I like that, like you know now that when I'm quiet in the car and I'm not saying anything, like, I just don't want to talk because my mind, like I told you, is screaming. And you'll just sit there and you'll be okay. You're not mad at me for it. You're not like, well, what did I do wrong? You're just like, oh, okay, Mara's having a moment. Let me give her a second, you know, and then I'll pester her.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, especially at first, it's really hard not to take that personally.
Oh, sorry.
You know, I mean, it's not saying that to call you out. It's just like, that's the default way to take things, right? Is to take it personally. And then you realize, like, after a while that, okay, like I said before, not about me, has nothing to do with me. Sometimes you're just mad. And that comes with the territory, you know? And it could be something I did, or maybe you think it's something I did, but it's actually not. But I needed to give you time to work through that. And in the meantime, there's really nothing I can do.
Yeah.
You know? If I try and talk to you about it, it's gonna make you angry because, like, freaking, you're not ready to talk about it. And I don't know, it's not fair, I guess you could say. In reality, it's not. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that, like, it really isn't fair because I have to keep myself available and be ready to talk when you're ready to talk, but not force you to get there on my terms. I have to let you do it on your terms. But when you are ready, I need to make myself available and be there. And I guess, yeah, to a degree, that isn't fair. But I mean, depression and anxiety and these stuff, it's not a fair disease, you know? And if I really do want to be supportive and I really do care about you, I accept that it's not fair and I do it anyways because I care about you and I love you, and that's what a supportive person does.
That was deep as fuck. Oh, I didn't realize you didn't think that was unfair. I'm sorry. I'm glad you told me that.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it's unfair, like, oh, I'm so mad about it. I'm saying, like, from a logical perspective, like, yeah, it's not, but you have to accept that. If you want to be supportive in your partner's life and they're suffering from these things, you have to accept that. And you have to do it anyways.
Yeah. And I think it sucks too for me because, especially now you're saying that, I'm going to feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty.
I'm kidding. But the reason I keep quiet is because it has nothing to do with you. Is because, and I told you this too, like, in those moments, it's everything else. And the last thing I want to do is give you the shit end of the stick because of it.
But I don't think I have the shit end of the stick. That's the thing, right? Like, honestly, I don't.
Well, I mean, when I release the pressure, when it's building up, like, when I'm having those moments, that pressure is still building. It's not like dying down. Once it starts to die down, that's when I open my mouth and I'm like, babe, I'm going through this, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm not, it's actively still building up. And what happens with a balloon when it's getting filled, and you just take a needle and you pop it. It bursts everywhere, right? And that's what's gonna happen if I force myself to talk to you. Because if you don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, even though in my mind it doesn't make sense, that's what I'm trying to do, is make sense of it, and that's why I'm getting more frustrated, then I'm going to pop, and it's going to be a loud explosion on you, where I would rather wait until that balloon is right about to burst, because it always gets there, and I untie it and I slowly let it out. And once that release starts happening, then it's like, oh, the balloon's letting out, let me tell you what's going on, this is what's going on, it has nothing to do with you, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way I want to release the pressure to you.
I will say that part is important, right? Because one thing that allows me to step aside and say, give you your time, and then like, okay, I know that you're going through this and I need to give you the space to do that. One thing that allows me to do that is knowing that when you finally do calm down, right, you're gonna come back and talk to me and say that, look, I was angry, this was happening, and you've explained this to me enough times where I know what you're talking about when you say that that's what was happening. And you say, it's not your fault, I'm sorry, you didn't deserve that, and this is what's actually going on. Those like, what do you call them? Like after action reports.
AARs? Did you really?
Shut up.
Oh my god. You are so
what's wrong with me?
lame.
What happened to me?
I want there to be an American flag behind you right after you say that. You better edit that in.
I don't know why I went back to that. Wow. I haven't said that in so long.
What a pogue. Boop.
Oh wow. But yeah, I freaking that, like, after everything happens and we talk to each other. That's important, right? It allows us to like decompress and then like get back on neutral footing, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
But the only way that's gonna happen is if I don't want to say if I trust you enough, because I mean, it does come with trust, and that is very important. It does come with trust, and I do trust you. I trust that you're gonna listen. I trust that you're going to want to hear what I have to say. But that also comes with me. Your arms look so much smaller.
Oh my god, why would you say that? Now I gotta flex nonstop.
But it comes with me having to open the hell up. I have to tell you exactly what's going on, because what really makes it not fair is if I'm super quiet, I don't tell you, I'm dealing with it, and then I'm like, okay, that's all. Like, no, because you just got ignored for 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah. You don't deserve that. You deserve an explanation, and I deserve being able to open up to you. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. It's a trust thing, because I do trust that you're gonna come talk to me.
Right.
And you do. You haven't let me down.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well, geez. I realized when you said that, I was like, whoa.
It's like when we talked to Jessica, right? Because like, I fucking hate it when she like wants our attention. We're doing something, but she's desperately trying to get our attention, and we give it to her, and she goes, never mind. Nothing makes me more furious. So yeah.
Jessica, I apologize when you hear this. Yeah.
We've already talked to her about it though, so.
Yeah, but so I love that you trust me enough to know that I'm going to get back to you with what I'm dealing with. And I trust you enough to want to get back to you. And I love you enough to want to get back to you, I want to say, you're my partner. You understand I'm going through a lot. This is what I'm going through. I'm not telling you because I want you to fix it. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. You know, and I want you to know. And also, when I do talk to you, it releases a lot of pressure, actually. So when I'm opening up that balloon, instead of popping it with the needle, like I'm letting it out. But it's a hard balloon. It's a really hard balloon, because once it starts filling up, it's like, it starts, again, get harder, harder. And then I open it up, and it releases the pressure. But when I start talking to you and I know you're listening, you're actively listening to me, and you're wanting to listen to me, it's like you grab that balloon too and you open it up with me. So it's not that hard to open up anymore. And I end up feeling better most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's important.
So yeah, I think that was a good one.
That was a good little tangent there.
It was, yeah. But I think I'm lucky. I think there's sometimes that I wish I didn't have the mind that I had. There's a lot of times that I wish that like a lot of things didn't happen to make me who I am today. But there's some times I'm really grateful, because I feel so much stronger with you.
I think adversity breeds wisdom.
I think I think that was good. Eventually we'll talk about our children. Eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be good to talk about
mental health.
Yeah, my mental health and your mental health, and you didn't talk about yours, but you know.
I think I'll close it out by saying, like, I'm gonna say, if you're going through something, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right? If you need help, seek it out. Counseling is hugely important.
Yep. And if it does get to a point where you can't handle it, please, the suicide hotline. I think that's one thing we should pin on there.
I can link that, yeah.
Yeah. But until next time,
we've been two halves of a whole idiot.
Yeah. And we out. Woo. Oh my god, your train sucks.
I did a high pitch. I harmonized.
That's a bad train.
Wow.
Yeah.